Welcome to Managing Day to Day with me, Christina Laster, and National Parents Union. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all thriving after that wonderful 3-day weekend. And I hope you're rejuvenated. Hello to America's beautiful children. We love you. And so, as you can see, I have my amazing guests on. Shout out to them. Hello.
Hey.
So, can you guys tell all the viewers who you are, where you're at, what you do?
Go on, Shay.
All right. Wendy and I have a show produced by National Parents Union as well that we do on Mondays and Wednesdays called My Child, My Voice. And I am Shay Mackin, and my other organization that I volunteer with is the National Coalition for Public School Options.
And I'm Wendy Gonzalez-Neal. We host, like Shay mentioned, My Child, My Voice Parent Connection show, hosted by National Parents Union. I'm also the executive director and founder of My Child, My Voice, a nonprofit organization here in Houston, Texas.
Right. And so, talking about what led you on this journey and what your passion and pursuit is, we all have a passionate pursuit, but there is always something that just led us along this journey. Can you please share, how you got here?
Sure, I'll go. So, how many years ago? 8 years ago or so. A little bit over 8 years ago. So I currently live in Texas. Well, I've lived in Texas for 25 years. I'm originally from California. And
shout out to California. I say that while it's on fire, but I'm a native Californian, and so gotta always, hey, pray for us, y'all. We on fire out here, and it's real. Like, seriously, it's like getting real. It's like worse than anything I've seen since I've been born and raised here.
Yes. We've only come, when I lived there, only came really close. Like, we packed our car, had all our stuff ready to go, and then we were told we didn't have to go. Have you had to pack your car ever?
Last year, I lived in an evacuation zone in the Holy Fire. This year, I don't live in that area. So yes, last year I did have to evacuate me and my family, and we were gone for quite some time. This year, we have 3 fires going at one time that are really, really major. Sierra Nevada fire in the forest, which is really tragic, right? An Alpine fire, which is in San Diego, and then there's the fire out of San Bernardino County. And we just kind of got the Apple fire in San Bernardino County out of, under control. And so now you have one in the Yucaipa area, really tragic. I live in Palm Springs area, and really, it's just smoky. It's dark. Ashes are falling out of the sky, and we just gotta be really careful.
Yeah, all of my family is trying to really just stay inside and change their air filters and all that stuff to their house. Just scary. But my passion, I guess, is kind of what you were asking about. So all of my kids, I've always really known that my kids were just individuals, and had to kind of, contemplate with my husband and figure out the path to help them become the best person they needed to be. And at the time, my oldest 2 were utilizing full-time online public school in Texas. And there was a bill that came about where it would have completely done away with full-time online schooling in this state. And I was like, wait, they can do that? Because I figured this is a public school, right? It's a charter. Like, how can they just close a school? Right? And so that's how I got started. And then as I went around the state learning more and more about other parents' voices as to why they needed options for their kids, it wasn't all the same, right? And just crying with moms about their kids' physical and emotional safety, and needing a safe place for education. I currently, I've got 4 boys. My oldest 3 are adults and done with school. My youngest one, he's got some health issues and cannot be in a classroom. He cannot be in a room with fluorescent lights. And so he has to just be homeschooled. That's the only option. So I'm not really fighting so much for my own kid now, but I can't go back after hearing those moms and dads and seeing those kids' faces, right? And knowing that there are thousands of kids out there that need a quality education, just in a different packaging. And so that's what I fight for, is just let these parents have an option of a different type of packaging for their kids, so that they can be safe emotionally, physically, whatever it is.
Right. And you know, when we're talking about having our kids in an environment that is conducive for their academic progress and performance, we're also looking at a social emotional piece of that, right?
Right.
Like, what is conducive for my child's safety and well-being? It's not just about what their academic performance looks like. It's also about their life and their livelihood, right? I had that same situation where my daughter has a citrus allergy and there's oranges being opened around her at school all day, right?
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't just carry an EpiPen for nothing, you know? And because they didn't treat it like a peanut allergy, I just was like, no, her life is threatened here.
Yeah.
Right.
And because of that, her livelihood is too, because she has to walk around all day worried about who's going to open an orange.
Right. And so there's that part of your brain being occupied by that all day.
Yes.
And so it's not open to learning.
Right.
It's being bullied, or you have a health issue, whatever it is, that
Language barrier.
all day,
Yeah.
it's just wearing. And you need, if you're in a safe, physically and emotionally safe place, that opens the doors and the windows and the sunroof.
Exactly.
And I think all of us have done this. I mean, we did it first, like me. I mean, I have 4 adult kids and 2 grandkids, but it started with my kids. Then it started with, you know, my sister's kids, my cousin's kids, my neighbor's kids. And the next thing you know, we're all fighting the same thing. Yep. And that's how, you know, I was starting out like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, we do have something to say. You know, parents, you know, put kids in certain schools for a reason, but you also got to listen to what we have to say. You know, there are concerns, there's issues, but sometimes parents really do have good suggestions on things. I've seen I've seen parent leaders rise up and do a lot more because and help not only the school that their kid is in, but also the district, or even, you know, locally, you know, in their community, which is great. And that's how I got started doing all this, because I used to be one of those parents sitting in the back of the room and just, you know, hearing all of us, you know, whispering and complaining like, okay, they're not talking about this, not talking. I got tired of it, stood up and said, hey, you know, we need to talk about this. And next thing I know, I had parents behind me saying the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, we're all going to do this too, you know? And next thing I know, I became the parent leader of my, you know, child's school. And it just kind of rose from there. And I started educating myself. A lot of parents would ask, you know, how do you know all these things? I ask questions. And if they couldn't like answer my questions, I went looking for the answer to people that were experts. And then I was like, how can I bring that change here? Because in Texas, we have a lot of education barriers here. We have options in some major cities here, but not in these small rural towns, because, you know, Texas is huge. There's a lot of towns in Texas that don't have options at all. And so that's
my dad lives in Texas, and I have siblings that are there. Shout out to my family in Texas.
Howdy.
Right? You know, might as well throw that in there. You know, I have to validate both of you ladies. I was one of those parents that volunteered almost every day, you know, and it wasn't out of the desire to be a helicopter mom. It was out of the sheer desire to just be there, be present, help out.
Right.
You know, I was in school site council. I was, you know, a part of a whole bunch of committees. even taught art, meet the masters, but my authentic voice was still not being heard, right?
Exactly.
And it was just so frustrating how rigid the system was, and just not accommodating and flexible. And it was like, are you kidding me? Like, I have to go get, it still is,
It
but
still is.
right now we have the great opportunity to transition into what it is and demand what it is that we want to see, even though there's pushback because the status quo. But parents are in a better position because guess what? You're now, again, and you always have been, your primary child's educator. They're with you, right? You have the ability to unenroll and unsubscribe from failure, right? And
Exactly.
so just talking about that journey, of doing everything right as a parent, and still not being welcome. And so what I had to do was shift my mentality and my behavior and my practice into, I am going to pursue something that works for my child. And I don't care what anybody says about it. I am not loyal to the system. The system ain't loyal to my kids.
Right.
They don't want to hear my voice. They don't care to hear from people that look like me. But I'm not going to just stop there. I'm going to go back and I'm going to fight for other kids and parents that are having the same problem. And I think that's how we all ended up here, right?
Exactly, because we all feel the same way. Like here in Houston, we had, I am always so proud to hear parents speak up. There was a mom that has kids in Houston Independent School District. Her name is Sim Kearns. And she was very vocal to like, what's going on, HISD? Y'all are lacking on communication, lacking on poor planning. What the heck? And I was like, whoa, she's blasting this out. She's blasting emails. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to help this mom because I'm going to blast everything out. Hey, look what this school is doing. Look what they're not doing, right? And this is where we impact, because parents actually have power. It's pushing them and helping them, show them that they have that power, right?
Right.
This mom was doing that.
True.
And
for all of you health buffs, I'm drinking my LaCroix water, okay?
Good job.
Sparkling water. I will get 10 text messages and 5 emails about why are you drinking soda on the show, right? And so, yay! When I have a can, I will announce when it's a Diet Coke, okay? Other than that, assume it's a sparkling water. Thank you.
Hey,
continue on in your day.
Gotta have the tea and then have the water. Yeah, I go back and forth.
We have fun here at National Parents Union, and people need to know that we're regular, everyday parents and folks. Fight in the trenches, like we're not sitting on some throne, even though I consider this my throne, my lion picture
here now.
I even have like my lion right there, but no, seriously, authentic voice of parents coming to the forefront, right? And us being able to help other parents utilize their authentic voice, because like you said, parents actually do have the power. We help them navigate, right? Through and with that power. And so talk about what that looks like.
Well, and it's giving them the understanding, the tools, the knowledge, right? What are your rights as a parent, right?
Exactly.
And what are the laws? Because like I didn't know.
I didn't know the laws either.
The state could close my school. It was a
propose a new
school,
bill
right?
that way.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Now I know a lot more ins and outs. And that's what we do, right? Is empower and educate parents so they know their rights and what those laws are. We have some weird public charter things in our states for our full-time online. So full-time online, I know, is in California as well. And I've helped family members and other friends and stuff get into that because their school was not a safe place for their kid for either social, emotional, or health or physical, whatever it was. And so in our state, we have weirdo things. Like every other state that has full-time online is kindergarten through 12th.
Not here.
right? Not here.
Not here.
You can't go till you're in 3rd grade.
Really?
So, yes.
Yes.
So if you have a health issue like my son, we went to the charter school down the road, had to drive an hour to get to the good charter school that I wanted him to go to. And about halfway through the year, he was having migraines 2-3 days a week, debilitating. I had to take him home. So he was having huge holes in his education because he was missing out on days. Took him to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician's like, is there fluorescent lighting in the classroom? Well, yeah, like every school in the world, or at least in America, right? And so that's what we figured out. He has a fluorescent lighting issue. Even if we did mitigations where in his classroom we did some different things, it's in the hallway, it's in the gym, it's in the cafeteria. It's
right.
So he doesn't have the option to go in person. So his 2 options would be to homeschool or to go to school online, because then he could be at home with my non-fluorescent lighting, right? And still have a great Texas public education, right? Well, he couldn't do that till 3rd grade.
Yeah.
The other word, yes. And
we have a lot of barriers here that are like as old, like we're back in the 1950s. I mean,
that's horrible.
Bad.
But you know, those barriers can manifest themselves in different ways, and I'll tell you why. Because we don't have that particular barrier, but what you're describing about your son having that issue with the fluorescent lighting is like what I had to fight for my daughter, right? And people didn't understand there's citrus in cleaning supplies. There's citrus in all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't even imagine, because it's citric acid is a preservative,
Right.
And just fighting every single level, like the meals accommodation, the protection of her allergy, because, it could trigger asthma. And, just knowing that, what, this is not going to be safer. I can't do it anymore. Even having to have doctor's notes and 504 plans, right?
Yes.
To why can't you guys just say, we're going to treat this like a peanut allergy, don't have it in the environment, it can possibly kill this child, right?
Right.
It's going to harm them in some way, even if it doesn't kill them. Like you said, your son and the migraines, right?
Right.
And just those hurdles are sometimes impossible to defeat. And you just say, I'm going to homeschool.
Right.
And that's what I did.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have even, probably even thought about the full-time online public school, except that their older brothers had done it. We were one of the first 300 students in the state to do full-time online. And now there's about 20,000 in our state, which we have kind of the smallest numbers of students, even though we're one of the largest states in the country. Because of those barriers, like K-2. Plus, here's a new one. Say you live in California, Christina, and then you transfer and you're doing full-time online and it works for your kid because of the citrus allergy, right? You move to Texas because you got a job transfer. Too bad, so sad. If you don't go to a Texas brick and mortar neighborhood school, the prior school year, you can't go this school year.
Yep.
To a full-time online school. What?
It's like, wait a minute. I did this in my state. Why can't I do this here?
You know what I call that? The traditional system, business as usual, trying to trap kids into generational perpetual failure, and having a reliance on the system instead of a reliance on what's best for the child.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
Yeah, I always look at the system, and it works for, there's a percentage of kids it works for. I'm not saying it's a huge percentage. I'm saying, sure, there's a percentage.
We'll call them the outliers.
Right. Of the assembly line system that is in place right now, where we're kind of making robots and everybody's exactly the same cookie cutter, and this is the kid, and this is what a kid's supposed to look like, and this is what a kid's supposed to look like. Well, you know what? Each of my kids are individuals. Yeah, it's not the 1950s. Technology is here. Let's utilize it so that get rid of these old, antiquated, crazy rules. In states like California and Colorado, there's I think 38 out of 50 states that offer full-time online. So not every state even offers it.
Right.
There are some states where there's no options. Your neighborhood school down the road is it.
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
no
especially
other
like I mentioned, small towns are the ones that have limited access. But what's the funny thing about Texas is our Texas Education Agency fails to communicate with families to let them know changes. Like me and Shay were talking about some changes recently, and we were like, wait a minute, how come parents don't know these changes when it pertains to their kids, especially with all this distance learning and this COVID cooties? It's like, I think we need to know these things so that we know how to make the best decision for our kids, right? And it's just crazy. It's crazy how they're not they do it on purpose is how I see it. Is, you know, they don't want parents to have power, you know, but guess what? Parents do have power. There is parent power. You know, we are standing up. We are speaking up more now, because now more than ever, because now you're hearing parents like, nope, you know what? I'm not going to that neighborhood school anymore. I just checked my kid out and I'm going to this virtual school over here, or I'm going to homeschool the kid over here, because they're tired, you know, and especially when they're thrown in this catch-22 where they're like, guess what? You're now the parent teacher. You know, you're going to have to educate your kids at home. It wasn't the school's fault, because it was COVID's fault, really, this invisible monster. But still, parents got, you know, their eyes got open even bigger, you know, like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, I've had a lot of parents who were very upset and saying they taught more with their kids at home than the kids were doing in their neighborhood schools. It's crazy.
Right, because when that so-called distance learning rolled out, you see how I did that, right? You know, it was interesting that parents were like, wait a minute, you guys are introducing concepts that my children never even heard of in school, for one, right? So whatever it is that you're rolling out, you weren't teaching that in your school environment, okay? And there were even parents that were saying like their children couldn't find teachers. They were self-teaching. They were just doing all kinds. You name it, the gambit was there.
Yes.
You know, what's interesting is that I went to Wisconsin last week, and I was in a Lyft, okay? And there was a man, and he was from California. And so, you know, yeah, you have those Lyft Uber conversations. And he's like, I'm from California, but I left California. And I was like, oh, tell me why. And he said, well, I decided to come and join a whole network of farmers who are all homeschool farmers.
Wow.
Now, this was a divine appointment, because I want to know more, right?
Right.
And so there's just a community of farmers that live in the same locale. Their kids have never been enrolled, ever. And there's 200 of them.
Wow.
In traditional public school, and they rotate lessons on farms, and they have all of their school dances, like elementals. That's cute, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm getting all this information. I'm thinking, and they're like, and we could care less about what the government is doing or what the run schools are doing. Our kids are fine in this network, and we've worked it all out, and we've been doing, and I moved here because they've been doing this for generations. And I was like, oh, that's what we're doing, right? And me and the Laster tribe, like, we have our homeschool set up, and we're good with that. But parents don't all need the same thing. Like, I could be totally fine with that, but some parents are like, well, that's not my cup of tea. And so because the system is so uniform, it's very hard to be in the system and support your child's modality of learning. Having options is very good. Quality options is what we fight for. High quality, equitable options. Globally competitive at that, right? We are have at our fingertips the whole world.
Yes.
And our kids are supposed to fail. I mean, California is 50 points behind everyone in the nation. That's tragic. And our states are set up the same, like with regards to population, some income, you know, things that are the same. Huge, but you're failing the kids there. So what's the next generation going to look like? My
Right.
big question is, when they were rolling out the distance learning, they got to keep the money and fail the kids.
No kidding. There's a lot of districts here in Texas that are not doing a lot of things right now.
I
Yes.
could have used that money to start the lobster farm,
Money
right?
should follow the kid.
Right.
If I choose to homeschool, if I'm going to I have grandkids. These are the ones that I'm thinking of is my
Right.
grandkids. And it's like, okay, if I'm seeing this now, guess what? Either I'm going to help my daughter make the decision of maybe you really do need to look at virtual schools or, homeschool, because here's all the options, because really it's, you see what's going on and that's not happening with these kids that, these parents are making the decisions like, okay, I'm going to do distance learning. Oh, guess what? My kid still hasn't gotten a laptop, or I don't have internet connection because where I live, we got poor connection. You hear that a lot. And I know it's not just Texas, it's everywhere.
No, it's
Right. But there's also other barriers that stop parents from having these options, like teachers unions right now. They don't want options, especially here in Texas. I know that's everywhere.
California too, right?
California too.
That's like the mafia in California.
That's what I
And
say.
so that's all I'm going to say
Mafia.
about them today, because I'm not even going to give them some of this air that I'm breathing. Just California Teachers Association is ruthless. They do not care about our kids. They were collective bargaining and making negotiations to work less while parents were working more to protect their pensions and their income and their educator plans and all of that wonderful stuff, while parents were scrambling to figure out ways that they were going to educate their kids.
Right.
Don't subscribe to that mess. I will tell you that even if you don't have the money, you can disenroll and they won't either. Okay. I'm not going to wait for funding to trickle in. And I'm not going to open my mailbox, I suspect, today and see a check from the government saying, here's for educating your child, right? I doubt it. But what I am going to do, and the power that we do all collectively have, is saying enough, and we have to figure out what works best. Right. I understand that income is a huge factor, right? But if we wait for the system to be fiscally solvent and solve those problems, that's like waiting for Social Security to fix all their problems.
Wait. That's the thing. Our kids can't wait on this.
Yeah, you can't.
These are our futures.
Yeah,
right.
I'm hoping that the education systems are going to start seeing that it's not an automatic that you get all the kids and you get all the kids' money, right? That, the way America works is, it's not automatic. My coffee money is going to go to Starbucks. I might want to go to the little mom and pop coffee shop. And so, depending on who wants my money, right? Mm-hmm. So be innovative, work for my money, make it work for me, offer me the flavors I want of coffee, or flavors within education that works for the kids, the individual kids. It's time to be creative and think outside the box. And the only way to really do that, to get really, really creative, is to start talking to the parents and figuring out what works for their kids.
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of parents are still doing this right now because they're like, you know what? I'm not waiting on you guys. I'm doing this myself. Right. I'm creating a learning pod, or I'm creating this pandemic pod, or I'm in a homeschool, but I joined this homeschool association like you were mentioning, Christina. And it's like parents are not waiting. Like the one mom that I mentioned, Sim Kearns, she's actually doing a YouTube where she's talking about, okay, I'm going to show you, because she's homeschooling her kids. And she's talking like, okay, I'm going to share my knowledge. Actually, when I started watching her, I was just like, there are so many moms like her that are sharing that knowledge and say, you know what, we can do this. We will do this as families. We're not waiting on the school. See ya. We're going to do this on our own. And that's what's happening right now. These changes are happening. And the thing is they're getting other parents involved. And so like, I was like, good for you. What do you need?
Absolutely.
Do you need help? Let me help you out. Or, hey, do you need this? Let me do this. Like, because we need to help each other, because it's all about the kids.
And I love that collective spirit. You know, I'm going to tell you why, because it's just meeting everyone at the level they're at, right?
Yep.
Like I have a high schooler, you know, you have a kindergartner. I've been here before. Let me help you, right? It's fearful when you have a kindergartner and you're like, oh my God, this is what school's going to look like. I dreamt of something else, kind of like in a far, far, far away land. You know, a princess kissed a frog and he turned into a prince, right? But we ain't living that kind of fairy tale or utopian ideal.
Right.
And so we have to really collectively say what is happening, and we see it happening everywhere. And what can we do best for our children? And that's the power as parents we have. You have to recognize also that the traditional school, the traditional public school is another branch of government. Right. You know, it really, truly is. And they're self-protecting, self-healing, but what is going to be best for our children? And collectively, we can help each other one person at a time, one family at a time, and one community time at a time, while simultaneously holding accountability to what's happening with the funding, right? The two can coexist. We can be making sure that our children and other children thrive by still saying, hey, these are public tax dollars. You can't just utilize them for whatever you want, and not make sure that all children are served by them, right? You can't force our kids into this mode of education that you think are deemed as appropriate. That's not appropriate. They're not getting a free and appropriate education. That's a fact. In some of these spaces.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true, because it's like, I feel like, you know, parents right now should be called parent strong, because we are. We are building and getting stronger. We are making the changes. And you know what? Schools are not liking it. Schools are not liking that parents are speaking.
Oh, well, yeah.
And it's like, okay, well then, you know what? I just took my kid, you know? So I give kudos to those parents who are being parent strong and helping each other and making a difference, because they're forgetting that it's about the kids. They're forgetting about, these are our babies. These are our futures that we need to make sure we take care of. And I'm so happy when I see a lot of parents trying to make these changes and empowering them even more. And we need to keep continuing to do that. Whether one school works or not, it's about the kids, and that's what we need to fight more for.
Yeah, that's why I'm grateful for organizations like National Parent Union and other organizations that are giving parents a platform, a tool, you know, helping them understand, giving them the knowledge, giving them the tools to go forth and literally battle for your kid. They only get one childhood. We each only get one childhood, one year that you're 10, 1 year that you're 17, you know, and waiting to fight is not an option.
Yeah, and the thing that I always tell parents is one key, and they always look at me like, one key, keep educating yourself. Mm-hmm. Because that is the most powerful thing you can do. Just because you don't have a college degree or not even a high school degree. I don't have a college degree, but yet I'm doing what I'm doing, and I keep educating myself. That's right, sister. Because you're helping your kids in the best way you can to keep doing that.
Yep. Because all of us get that negativity, you know, I don't have a college degree either. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not smart enough. You know, I'm in this room with all these highly educated people. They've got to know more than me, but they don't know my kid.
Yeah, but I was smart enough to put my kid in this school. So yeah, I am smart.
Right.
And I didn't see their names on the birth certificate.
Exactly.
Right. Or none of them in the hospital room when I had mine. So I know my child best, and I know what's best for my child. And if you refuse to listen to me about that, I don't care if you're a doctor, a teacher, a principal, police, right? Seriously. Then you don't care about them.
Exactly.
Because I'm telling you exactly who they are and what works best with them. And if you don't want to hear that, it's because you just don't care. And guess what? Hashtag I didn't come here to make friends, right? We're in a battle And I'll say that with a smile today on this lovely Tuesday. We're in a battle, okay? You didn't go to parents. I need you to hear. You're not looking to make friends. You're looking to get your child what he or she needs to thrive. Stop feeling bad about advocating and battling for what your child means. If you're the only one that's uncompromising, be the squeaky wheel.
And if you need help, guess what? Reach out to the ones that are vocal. I mean, it doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Shay. You see something like I saw Sim Kearns doing this, and all of a sudden people are going to her. It's those vocal parents that are making those changes. And guess what? Other parents are going to them. It's like, how do I do this?
So I started.
Yep. That's how I started.
Well, you know, I worked for a public education. That was a different day story. So talk about your show and how people can watch your show, what days you guys have your show.
Well, our show is My Child, My Voice Parent Connections. We air on, National Parents Union broadcasts on Mondays and Thursdays. And at 2:30 Central Time, because
Central Time, depending where you're at.
Depending where you're at. And we actually connect parents with information. That's what we're about. It's about connecting, right? You know, talking about the tools and resources they can use, and about, you know, bringing parents aboard and talking about what's working for them, what's not working for them, which most of the time is, but also highlighting the parents, right? If they're happy and saying, you know, this is working, then we want to share that, right? We want to share that information. That's what our show is about. And even showing something simple as, hey, there's a project you can do at home that is so simple. Take a break from distance learning. Check this out.
That's amazing. And so check out their show, Central Time. So, you know, you convert it yourself. I'm not about to sit here and convert that. Yeah. Google can convert it for you. And it's on the National Parents Union page, just like you found this. I love that you highlight what's working. And I love that you give suggestions. And I have to say, parents, you know, when you get that vital information, share it with your neighbor.
Yeah.
Share it with another parent. Because what I'm finding, the more and more parents that I talk to, they haven't been reached with this information.
Right.
And they haven't been connected with this information. And sometimes it's the first time that they have heard of a concept or heard of an idea or heard of a way or a solution. And so I think the more that we just use our word of mouth and our collective knowledge and help each other out, the more it will go around. And so can you guys give a final thing you would like to share, maybe contact information, final word, final thoughts?
Shay, I'll let you start. I've been doing most of the talking.
I talk a lot too, so you know, we got to do it 2 sessions.
My favorite hashtag is I trust parents. Because whether that baby was birthed to you, or you chose to be that baby's guardian and help that baby, whatever the age of that baby, along its path, that we're other people, we trust you. We trust that you have the best intention for your child and that you are doing the best you can. So we are all about just giving you that knowledge so that you can make those best decisions. So it's hashtag I trust parents.
And I put that in the comment field so that everyone can find you and they know that that's, you know, the hashtag too. And I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah,
Trusting parents.
That's what, I mean, that's how I started my organization, is I started being vocal. And mine is hashtag My Child, My Voice, because it's my kid. It's my voice. I make the decisions. I'm the one that's going to help my child the best, right? And so this is the reason why I do what I do, right? This is the reason why I do this hashtag. But it takes a parent's voice to really be heard. And it takes parents to amplify other parents. We have to do this as a community. We have to do this together. And this is what I love about National Parents Union, because we are a group of, you know, parents or even passionate advocates. We're not just all parents. There are also parent, you know, education advocates in our group. But this is what I love about it. And this is what we're trying to make that difference. The parents don't sit back and be quiet. be vocal. And if you need help, guess what? Reach out to us because we can help you in any way we can.
I got 3 hashtags that I'm gonna share about me. And that's what and that's what I love, that like we're all family and we can have a great old time and talk serious talk too, right? That's what families do, you know, hashtag I said what I said, okay? Hashtag let my people think, and hashtag claiming their time, okay? Because you do not get another K through 12 redo, okay? You don't. You're not going to get another opportunity to say, let me try this all over again. And that period of time in your child's life, pre-K through 12th grade, will dictate and measure where they head the rest of their lives.
Yep.
So we have to really seize every single moment that we can to do what is best for our children.
Right.
And if you feel like you need people to support you, here we are right here, right? Helping every child thrive with what they need. And so I so appreciate you ladies coming on and just having the opportunity to talk about what you guys do out there in Texas. Again, hello to my family in Texas. You guys are part of that family and network. And so it's just so joyous.
No, thank you. Everything you do in California.
Yeah, the California wildfires, I just pray that they go away because it really is just one extra layer, right, of what parents have to say, oh man, now I woke up to this wildfire and maybe my kids have allergies and asthma and now we can't go grab and go meals, right?
Yeah.
There's just things that people don't really think about that I think about, like kids have allergies and asthma, they have to stay in, but what if you got to take them to go get their grab and go meal, how's that going to work out? Even the mask, you could smell it, right? Even through the air conditioning. And so parents, just be safe, and I hope you thrive, right? So thank you again. I hope you guys are having great weather out there. You've been watching Managing Day to Day with me, Christina Laster, and National Parents Union. You can always reach out to me if you missed any part of this and need more information. Christina at mpunion.org. There's other shows that air during the daytime, and we're always so grateful that you came and watched. I hope you're all well, and I hope you all thrive. Goodbye, America's beautiful children. We love you, and we will see you again next time on Managing Day to Day and with NPU. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, you guys are out. That was a great